In this module, what we will do, we will try to understand that we are in a say academic institute and maybe in research organization, maybe you are a startup. We will try to understand that what exactly that intellectual property, where exactly it fits in the domain of property if we take as a property, where exactly this intellectual property stands. And then what are the different types of intellectual property so that we can get idea about, yes, when we are managing IP, what exactly we are managing. We should know that details about that particular thing. Now, this particular property when we are talking about, or intellectual property when we are talking about, where exactly it comes, as name suggests, it is a part of a property. Now, we know that when we are talking about a property, it may be tangible property, it may be intangible property. Now, as a name suggests, tangible means touch actually. So, the things which you can touch, you call it as a tangible. Things which you cannot touch, it is an intangible. So, when we see property as a such, we know that if it is a car, we can touch that car. If it is a bungalow, we can touch that bungalow. If it is a pen, we can touch that pen. If it is a mobile, we can touch that pen. Okay, or it is a TV, we can touch that TV. This is a chair, we can touch that chair. This is a table, we can touch this table. So, what exactly? This is something, all this is a property and I am able to touch it. Okay, so that is something a tangible property actually, and it may be movable and it may be non-movable. So, it is like immovable property and movable property actually, that we are very well aware about that particular thing. Now, the another type of property is there that we call it as a intangible property. That is a which we cannot touch. Suppose I say that I am thinking about a patent actually. I am thinking about some invention. So, where it is actually? You cannot touch that thinking actually. Or if somebody is saying I am writing a poem, I am thinking about a poem, you cannot touch that creation, whatever is going on in the brain. So, that's something which you cannot touch. That is what the intangible is. And now, in that intangible, this intellectual property comes. Now, why we are focusing on this particular means details about this intangibles, intellectual property, and then types? Because many times what happens, if you see the news actually, or if you see the newspaper, means you watch news on the TV or newspaper, the news is like something, they use the terminologies very interchangeably. They say to copyright, they will say industrial design, to industrial design, they may say patent. So, these words are used interchangeably, and that is a major mistake we can say while reporting about that particular property is done by the news reporters. It should not happen actually, because there is a very much different meaning about what is patent, what is copyright, what is industrial design. So, this is very important to understand that. And in this course, we are learning that yes, if these are the 8 types of intellectual property, how we can manage these types so that we can generate wealth, because IP is for a wealth creation. When we are creating this IP, we are expecting that we are getting some benefit out of that IP. Maybe direct wealth creation or indirect effect may be there. So, that intellectual property. Now, when we move further and we try to understand the further classification of this intangible property, it can be intellectual property and it can be intellectual capital. Now, what is the difference in that intellectual property and intellectual capital? Now, this intellectual property, when we are talking about this intellectual property, we will go in further details of that. Little bit idea about intellectual capital we will take here. So, what is that intellectual capital? So, here when we are talking in this context, because there is another context for intellectual capital also, we are not going into that details. In this context, intellectual capital is the capability by which the IP or intellectual property is created. And in short, if I want to divide it, intellectual capital, broadly we can divide it as a human capital, structural capital and relational capital. So, these major capitals are there. We will not require to go into details of that now. So, just remember, human capital, relational capital and structural capital. Then further there is a cognitive capital, conative capital and affective capital. I repeat, cognitive, conative and there is a affective capital. So these 6 capitals, human, relational, structural, cognitive, conative, affective, this 6 together forms the innovation capital, and this innovation capital is responsible for creation of a intellectual property. This much information is good enough for us for understanding the concept of intellectual property. So let us move further now and let's check that further classification, that this intellectual property is divided as a industrial property, then there is a copyright and related rights are there, then there is a protection of plant varieties and farmers' right is there, and there is a traditional knowledge actually. So what is that exactly? So when we will go into details of industrial property, because industrial property is further classification is there. So we will first focus on the copyright and the related rights. So in the next week actually we are focusing on this little bit so that we can get idea about this particular types of IP. So this copyright and related rights, when we are talking, this copyright is related to the expression actually. So when one word, if I want to explain copyright and related rights, the word is like a expression. So this is a writing a poem is an expression of that creator, that author actually. If drawing the picture is like a expression of that creator, the author. If somebody is taking a photograph, it is a skill of a photographer actually, how to capture that photo correctly. Or sculpture is there, how to create that sculpture is a creation of that particular author, because author is a common word I am using, because in law the creator of a copyright is termed as a author, and the ownership rights are always with a author. Now let's move further and we will focus on the protection of plant varieties and farmers' right. Now this is particularly very much focused on breeders' right, and then the farmers' right, and then whatever the agriculture related development is there. Seeds are there, some plants are there, some vines are there. So whatever that creation is there, that is completely protected through this particular act actually. So here we can say that, because this is when we will go in further one of the module, we will see the difference in the jurisdiction, that and I can give the idea here only, that when we say protection of plant varieties and farmers' right, it is a separate act. If you go into US, there is a plant patent actually. In India, we don't have that concept. So in one of the modules, we will deal with that particular thing, that jurisdiction wise the differences are there. So this protection of plant varieties and farmers' right, it is protecting the efforts which are put by plant breeders, and we can say that the farmers. So it is, we can say it's, the title is like a protection of plant varieties and a farmers' right. Okay, we will go in further details of that in upcoming module. Now the next is like a there is a traditional knowledge. Now when we are talking about this traditional knowledge, it is something, there is different opinion that whether traditional knowledge will be considered as IP or whether it is not IP. So different opinions are there. But that is one thing which is like we are not considering here as IP. I am very clear on that, that when we are talking about intellectual property, I will not put traditional knowledge as IP, but we should know that okay, this is something considered actually. Okay, so industrial property, you can say copyright and related rights are there, then there is a protection of plant varieties and farmers' right is there, and there is a traditional knowledge. Okay, now we will move further and let us watch one video and relax actually. hope you enjoyed the video. Let's move further and just check now the further classification of the industrial property. Now this industrial property, when we are talking about, it is like a patent is there, trademark is there, then there is a industrial design. Okay, so we will first focus on the patent. When we are talking about a patent, you can see here three types: as a product patent, process patent, and a utility patent. Again, jurisdiction wise, if you see, in India there is no utility patent. So there is only product patent and there is a process patent. So these are the two types of a patent. Then when we focus, and if I want to give one word of patent, I will say invention. So patent is for invention. Of course there is innovation, but I don't want to confuse you. Invention, innovation, there is a difference. Maybe you can just try out what is the difference in invention and innovation. Okay, so invention, innovation, the patent will come. Copyright is for what? Expression. Okay, then protection of plant varieties is for what? It is related to agricultural products. And traditional knowledge we are not considering here. We will move further and check trademark. So what is a trademark actually? I will use some words actually, and probably you will gauge what I am talking about. If I say Bata, Mochi, Catwalk, Reliance, Mercedes-Benz, Tata, what exactly I am talking about? So I am using one word, or I can also say that 007. No explanation is required. That one word or that one number is giving you whole idea about what I am talking about. If I say Tata, you just remembered maybe Taj Hotels, maybe you remembered TCS, maybe you remembered some Tata Salt. Okay, so if I say Reliance, you maybe immediately thought about Ambani. So it depends, means how exactly, means that one word, that Reliance Industry, right? So one word is sufficient to give the information about that particular organization, about the quality offerings of the quality, whatever the products are given or offered by that particular brand, that particular name. Immediately we remember that particular thing, right? And then there are different types are there, that certificate mark is there, textile mark is there, then word mark is there. So we will not go in details about that now. In one of the modules we will check that particular thing. So this is the trademark. Now the next one is like we are talking about a industrial design. Now what exactly industrial design? I will give you a few examples so that you can immediately relate that particular thing. So suppose I say Mercedes-Benz, and if I ask you imagine that Mercedes-Benz, so immediately a picture of Mercedes-Benz will come in front of you. Now if I say Tata, maybe Toyota car, immediately you imagine the picture of that particular Toyota car. Now if I say Dove, immediately you think about that white colored soap, and that picture will come in front of you. If I say Parachute, so if I say Parachute oil, actually I want to give the brand name Parachute oil, immediately that bottle with a blue color and then the coconut tree, immediately it comes in front of you. So what exactly we are talking about? The external appearance of that particular product, we are talking about that external appearance which we can see by naked eyes. So some patterns are there sometimes, like some patterns, lines, Bisleri bottle, if I say, that lines means that grooves are there on that bottle and all. So that particular pattern, or if I say Colgate, immediately that red and white color comes in front of you. So what happened, that whatever the packaging is there, external packaging is there, that particular comes immediately in front of you. And and that is very specific actually, means when Colgate, that red and white combination, or Parachute, that particular blue color with a that black colored coconut tree, actually immediately it comes in front of our eyes. So this particular design, this particular appearance is a creativity. It is a creativity, and that is protected by one of the type of intellectual property, that is a industrial design. Okay, so industrial design is for external appearance. Trademark is like one word or letter or number, and that is representing the organization, and patent is for invention or a innovation. Copyright is for the expression. Protection of plant varieties, when we are talking, it is for plant varieties. Breeders' right, farmers' right, that is coming into the picture. If it is a geographical indication, actually, we will move further and we will focus on that particular thing, that geographical indication or a trade secret or a layout design of an integrated circuit is there. So, for geographical indication, suppose I say Solapuri Chaddar. So, I am talking about Solapur, a place, and the product, right? Or if I say Tirupati Laddu, I am talking about the place Tirupati and that Laddu. So, the place and the product. If I say Pashmina shawl, I need not to say it is from Kashmir, because once I say that word, immediately you think about a Kashmir and the shawl. If I say Chanderi sari, immediately you think about the sari. Okay, so what happened? That particular sari actually, or Kanchipuram sari, right, or Banarasi silk, immediately that is linked with the particular region, right, and there is a product. So, as name suggests, indicating geographical origin. So, it is a geographical indication, means the product is related to that particular geography, and that protection is given through this intellectual property regime, statutory provision, and that is the Geographical Indication Act is there, and through that this protection is provided. Okay, so this is a geographical indication. Next is like a layout design of integrated circuit. So, Semiconductor Integrated Circuit Layout Design Act is enacted, and it is in 2000, and this act gives us a protection of that particular, that transistors are there, the resistors are there, that particular integrated circuit is designed. So, how that arrangement is there, and it is at a nano level, actually we know that it is at a very nano level, micro level also I am not talking, it is a nano level arrangement is there, and that particular arrangement on a particular vapor, that whole mask work whatever we are talking about, and that is unique actually, and protection for that is provided through the particular act that is called as a Semiconductor Integrated Circuit Layout Design Act. So, that is another type of IP. And then the trade secret actually, and we know that in every domain there is a trade secret, but in India we don't have statutory provision for that particular thing as such, but a contractual arrangement is there, and through that the trade secrets are protected. And as the name suggests, mostly it is a secret related to the trade, and obviously it will kept in that confidential, it is a confidential information in a short, or I am talking it in a layman language, it is a confidential information and all. But when we go into details about a trademark, there's a trade secret, we will get the idea about that. So, something secret information which is a very useful for the business or that trade, it is a trade secret as name suggests. So, we can say that, I just summarize that there is a kind of a, if you talk about this particular thing, that there are 8 types of a IP. Now, we can just say that yes, there is property, and then there is the types we have seen, that there is a movable property, immovable property, and then there is a like intangible assets, and intangible assets we have seen that intellectual property and intellectual capital is there. And then you have seen that there are this industrial property, copyright, then protection of plant varieties and farmers' right, and there is a traditional knowledge. So, we can see here that there is a patent, trademark, industrial design, then there is a integrate the other, apart from this copyright we have seen, then protection of plant varieties, 5 types we have covered. Then other than that, what is there? Geographical indication, just now we have seen. Then there is a trade secret, and there is a Semiconductor Integrated Circuit Layout Design Act. So, these are the 8 types of IPs, and when we are talking about intellectual property, okay, and intellectual property management. We are talking about these 8 types. We are not considering traditional knowledge in intellectual property, it's very clear. Okay, so I have already said that there are different opinions, and as per this understanding, I am of the clear opinion as of now. Maybe that opinion may change, but as of now, traditional knowledge we cannot consider under the intellectual property. Okay, so this is what the types of IP which we are dealing with, which we create in academia. Okay, so if you are a student, if you are a faculty member, I will suggest you that find out that how many patents are there, how many copyrights are there, how many semiconductor integrated circuit layout designs are there, plant varieties, or that other types of IPs around you in your academic setup. Actually, we are having that particular thing. We are not able to, maybe we are not thinking about it, so we are not able to probably identify that particular. So in the upcoming modules, we will get idea how exactly we can identify it and protect that particular for a wealth creation. And with this, we are coming to the end of this session. So when now we are talking about intellectual property, actually, how exactly it is classified, or how exactly it is a statutory provisions are there for the protection of that particular thing. So you can see here there is a Patent Act, then there is a Trademark Act, Copyright Act, then there is a Design Act, then there is a Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Act, then Semiconductor Integrated Circuits Layout Design Act, Biodiversity or Biological Diversity Act is there, and then there is a Geographical Indication of Goods Protection, Registration and Protection Act is there. So we can say that these total 8 acts, a statutory provision is there to take care of protection of this intellectual creation. Okay, that is that intellectual property. And for trade secret, we have said that as there is no any statutory provision, the trade secret protection is by using a contract law. Okay, so this is the arrangement for a protection of a intellectual property. So it is very safe that yes, our intellectual property is protected by these particular regimes in India. Now, just remember now that when we are now in this era, the common word probably you might have heard that yes, we are like in a knowledge economy, we are like governed by knowledge economy. So what exactly knowledge economy is that? So the point is like that if you see the current scenario and current assets of the organization, the scenario is like that 80% or more assets are of a, we can say that these are related to intangible assets, that is a creation of a intellect, and that is what the knowledge actually, and knowledge is giving that is governing the economy. And obviously intellectual property, which is a intangible asset, right? It is a intangible asset which is helping controlling this particular economy definitely. Okay, I'm very responsibly I'm making statement that yes, intellectual property is controlling the economy definitely, because in the knowledge economy, IP is a very important actually. So now what we will do, we have understood okay 8 types of IPs. We will just now check that where or how this IP is like created considering this map actually. So just check this map actually. And what you are seeing here, you can see here the different types of dances which are performed in India, that regional specificity is there. Now I request you just take a 2 minutes or 1 minute and try to check that which type of IP, 8 types of IPs we know. So a small exercise we are doing. We know that 8 types of IPs. I repeat: patent, trademark, copyright, industrial design. Okay, this 4. Then geographical indication, semiconductor integrated layout design. Then there is a trade secret is there, and then there is a the protection of plant varieties and farmers' rights. So total 8 types of IPs are there. Now you are seeing here dances. Okay, which are the different types of IPs probably are there when we are talking about these dances. Just Write down in the comment box. Which are the types of IP? Yes? Dances, regional specific dances are there. And 8 types of IPs. Out of that 8, which are the IPs which will help to the for protection of that particular creation, because these are the unique creation of that particular region of India. What is that? So yes, it is a copyright. Okay. Then trademark. Okay. Then only 2 types of IPs, copyright and trademark. Any other IP? Okay. So suppose copyright is there, how it is related? Just check the example. When we are talking about these dances are like you can see that film industry, you just remember. And when you are talking about a choreography, it is an expression, and definitely it is controlled or protected by the copyright. That is one of the type of IP. Fine. Another type, say you have said that is a trademark. How it is? So if I say Shamak Dawat Academy or Shamak Damak classes or dance classes actually. So Shamak Dawat is that is very popular, we can say, the dance academy, and they are like related to these dances, we can say. So in that way you can relate it to the trademark. Okay. If any further, you just write down in the comment box and give the reason that how that type is related. So let's move further now, and we will just focus now. Just check this mithai. Now just check this different types of mithais are there, and yes, we are rich in in that specific, we can say, the foods of that particular region, right? So now which type of IP will be related to this? Try out 8 types of IPs related with the mithais. Okay, I am hearing trademark. Okay, then copyright. Okay, then any other? Geographical indication. Yes, definitely. Any other type of IP? Mithai. Patents. Okay. Okay. So, okay, we will just focus now these 4 types you have mentioned. So, how it is related to copyright? So, suppose somebody creates a recipe book, right? That will come under the copyright. Fine. How it is related to the geographical indication? That we know that yes, Tirupati Laddu or Rasagulla, Bengal Rasagulla. So this is a geographical indication. Okay, another type of IP. So copyright, then geographical indication. How it is a trademark? So suppose you say Kurkure, or suppose you think of some chips actually, or some food items, right? ITC is there, Kellogg's is there, tomato, that ketchup is there, right? Immediately you think of a separate, different kind of a, we can say, the trademarks, or you can say, if I say the example like Sanjeev Kapoor's, that yellow chilies actually. So if yellow chilies I say, that is a hotel, restaurant which is owned by Sanjeev Kapoor actually. So again, in that way the trademark is there. Different ITC products are there, right? So all this is like a trademark. General Mills products are there, Kellogg's is there, PepsiCo food products are there, Parle food products are there. So all this like it will come under the trademark. So trademark, copyright, and then there is you have said that trademark, copyright is there. Now we will just focus on the that another type like which is related, industrial design, whether it is related to industrial design. Now you just remember, whenever you are buying that product, that food packaging is there. If I say Parle-G, immediately that particular picture came in front of you. If I say Amul, that immediate Amul girl come in front of you, right? So yes, industrial design protection is also involved when we are talking about mithai. Geographical indication is also involved. How patent is related to the mithai? So if I want to relate it with the food processing industry, there are lot of machineries, and that machineries actually have a definitely the patents are there. So in that way we can say the 5 types of IPs you can relate with the mithai. Maybe you can think of more and you can add it into the comment box actually. So we have seen the dances, then we have seen the mithai, and now we will move further and we will check that the fabrics which are there. So particular region, whenever we are locating, if you see the particular region, for example, Chanderi sari, that Katha work, Kanchivaram sari, Pashmina shawl, Solapuri chadar. So what happened? This is the particular region and you can see that particular fabric actually. So what type of IPs are related to it? Yes, trademark, fine. Geographical indication, perfect. Anything else? Okay, I will explain this first. So when we are talking about the geographical indication, already means I said that yes, Kanchivaram sari, Solapuri chadar, Pashmina shawl, these are the geographical indications actually. Patent, whether it is the, yes, it is them. So suppose I say that a simple question, rough and tough jeans, you probably are aware about that. So who owns that? Rough and tough jeans, Arvind Mills actually. And we know that Arvind Mills is a popular in denim production actually. Okay, and when if you see the denim production related to denim, there are so many patents. That fabric, whatever is created, for that fabric creation, so many patents are there. So definitely patents, geographical indication are definitely there associated with the particular, this particular we can say fabric. Trademark, definitely I have just given the example, rough and tough, Arvind Mills. Peter England, who is a owner of that, write down in the comment box. Let's move further. Okay, now the next is like a, you can see the flora and fauna, and I just given this because Biological Diversity Act we can say connect with this, and another important type of IP, that is a patent, because we should know that if any patent by using a natural resources is there, then we can say that there is a Biological Diversity Act is important, because without giving the source details and getting certification from the Biodiversity Board of India, that patent will not be granted, and therefore flora and fauna, that is very important actually. Okay, so I guess now we are very clear on types of IP and how exactly that are like used commercially. Little bit idea also you probably have got. Now we have got idea about the IP. Now we will focus on in academia. Just one example I have taken here of academia. You can apply it to your industry also. You can apply it to your startup also. You can apply it to your research organization also. So I'm just focusing on the academic institution here. Now just think over that 8 types of IPs we are now aware about. What is that will create that 8 type of IPs in academic setup? Just think over. I'm giving you some time actually for this. Or rather I will suggest that just take a pause here. Think over that what are the different types of IPs in your academic institute you are creating. Just take a pause and think over, and if possible write down in the comment box again. Okay. So let's see what is it. So you can just see here there is a teaching IP is created, research work, lot of IP is created, project work, IP will be created. If it is like internships are there, you will create IP. If it is a collaborative work, any activities are there, you are creating intellectual property. If you are writing a answer sheets actually, as a student, you are creating IP. If you are writing a books, articles, any literary work if you are creating, or if you are in a extracurricular activities like maybe elocution competition you are participating, dramatic society if it is there in your college or academic setup, you are participating in that particular, music society if is there, you are creating that particular. So all these competitions and activities, that extracurricular activities, you are creating lot of IP, right? So for example, if teaching is there, copyright will be there. If research is there, patent, trademark, copyright, industrial design. If you are agricultural university, you will create protection that plant varieties or breeders right you are creating, right? So lot of IP will be created here. Again, if project work is there, in your third year or fourth year, you are engaged in that project work. Definitely, if you plan that project work properly, you are able to create a patent. Definitely, obviously, we are creating copyright if you are writing a publication, that papers and all that thing, that if you are publishing that thing, copyright is created. Internships, again, very important thing. Whenever you are joining to any company, the first thing you sign the contracts actually. I don't know whether you read the contract, what it is written and on that. But if now onwards, if you are going to go for that internship, check that contract and check for the IP clause, what it is saying, who is owning the IP which is created during your internship. Suppose you are working in a software industry, you are creating something, who is owning that during that internship. So please check that particular thing, there you are creating IP. Okay. Next is like a collaborative activities if it is there. Collaborative activities like yes, you are receiving the funds from government or private, we can say organizations, or two different organizations, three different organizations coming together, and that collaborative activity is going on. At that time, who is owning that IP? Is there arrangement properly made in your institute? Is there any guidelines for that? Please check that thing. Because you are creating the patents, then you are creating especially copyright and patent. Check who is owning that particular thing. Your question papers, you are answering to that question papers. Your answer script is whose property? That is a copyright actually. So whose copyright? Who is owning that particular copyright actually? Think over about this. Then the books you are creating during your academic activities actually, maybe, or during your leisure time, then these are the two different scenarios. So who is owning that actually copyright? What is the guidelines of your institute for that particular thing? Articles you are writing, you are creating a literary work. What are the guidelines for that from your institute? Okay, so check that particular thing. If any extracurricular activity you are involved in, and you may create a very original work, and then you probably are uploading it on a YouTube, right, or on any other social media, who is like a owner for that creation? So what are the guidelines for that particular extracurricular activity and related IP? And these are the few examples I have given. And when we are talking about IP management of academic institute, we have to think about all such creation, and then how exactly you are going to manage that particular thing. Okay, so I guess glimpses of that IP creation in your institute. You can apply this to your startups, you can apply it to your industrial organization. Write down the list what your creations are, and then try what is the type of IP that is out of that 8 IPs. And then we will, whenever we will move further, we will see how exactly we can manage that. Is there in model, some models are there. So we will check that model, some tools, and then some examples, some case studies. So that will help you to understand and manage your intellectual property. Okay, so I will give you one example actually, that great creation of IP. Can you gauge who are these friends actually? Yes? Yes, these are Page and Brain, and they have created Google, right? Now, this is again Stanford University, and in the Stanford University, they have started Google, and you know now that the alphabet now and how it is restructured, and I need not to say about that. We have recorded a case study about that in one of the course, that is entrepreneurship and IP strategy. If you want, you can go into details of that. But this is a very classic example of a, you can say that, IP management for a wealth creation in a academic institute. Okay, so let us move further. There are so many, like Stanford University have so many creations, like Netflix is from Yahoo. All these creations, all these startups are from Stanford only. Okay,